Right, so today I am going to be making a butternut squash curry, and I've seen lots of different recipes that will show you how to do that online. So I'm just trying to put something together myself without actually looking at a recipe and just using my own ingredients at home and see where it takes us. So first of all, what I've done is I've cut up the butternut squash. And I'm going to roast it in the oven first. The reason I'm doing this is, one, I hate, absolutely pet hate, is peeling butternut squash. I really find it difficult. And when you roast it in the oven, what happens is the skin just falls off really, really easily. So I'm going to do that as well. Roasting it also brings out the sweetness in the butternut squash, so it actually enhances the flavour of the butternut squash. So first of all, we're going to do that. My butternut squash was quite a small one actually, which I had delivered by Riverford last week, and so I've got 4 quarters here, and I'm just going to pop those into the oven, just over here. And pop them in there on 180 degrees, and I should think that would be for about 25 minutes. Now, the other ingredients that I have managed to find in the fridge, we've got a couple of courgettes that need eating. I've got a bunch of parsley there, some spring onions, and a leek, and then we've got garlic, onion, and some ginger. So I'm going to chop all of those up and add those also to the pot once the butternut squash has been roasted. And then just to add, to bulk it out a little bit, we've got some black-eyed beans and some coconut milk. So we'll try that as a basic starter and then do a taste test once we've put that all together. Right, so the butternut squash is now out of the oven and chopped up, and there's the peelings just there that have come off really simply, just using a knife and a fork. Obviously the butternut squash is still quite warm, but it's not completely softened, so 25 minutes is enough time just to soften the skin to take it off, and it's still got a bit of a crunch to it, so it will still cook and not sort of turn into mush when we put all the ingredients together. So what I've done is I've chopped up the garlic there. Now garlic is a very good thing to have in a curry, for flavour obviously, but from a health point of view, it improves your cholesterol levels, so it can lower the risk of heart disease. It's also able to reduce blood pressure, again, which helps lower your risk of heart disease. And it also obviously contains antioxidants which protect against oxidative damage from toxins like the pollution that we find around us on a daily basis. It's also anti-inflammatory, as is the ginger. So ginger's got some amazing anti-inflammatory benefits. So if you suffer from stiff joints, muscle fatigue and aching, it's very good for that sort of thing. Menstrual pain, if you suffer with that, ginger is great for that as well. It also lowers blood sugar levels, so if you're type 2 diabetic, ginger in your food works really well for that. And equally, these two, ginger and garlic together, are brilliant for improving the immune system. So to fight any infections at this time of year, there's a lot of colds going around, a lot of viruses. So to sort of protect yourself against that, these can strengthen the immune system brilliantly. Then we go on to, we've got onions and leeks, and I've chopped the spring onions as well. Now, onions are fantastic prebiotics. Now, you might well have heard of probiotics, which are live microorganisms that live inside the gastrointestinal tract. Their function is to aid digestion. So essentially they clear out the gut and help to keep things flowing nicely. And that's probiotics. But prebiotics, of which onions have loads of prebiotics in them, well, prebiotics are food for probiotics. So in order for probiotics to thrive, you also need prebiotics. So the onion family is fantastic for that. And then obviously I've put some chopped courgettes in there as well, which I had left over in the fridge. So we're just going to start off by putting in a teaspoon, just over a teaspoon of coconut oil, and wait for that to soften down. Okay, that's going nicely. And then what I've got in here in this bowl, we've put in the garlic, the onions and the leeks to start off with. So just get those softened nicely. So we just need to give them a little bit of a stir so that the oil covers them. And we want to soften those for about 5 minutes and just keep an eye on, make sure they don't burn. And get those cooked down nicely. Okay, so that's cooked down nicely, they've softened nicely. Now I'm going to pop in the ginger, and we'll also pop in the courgettes and get them cooking. Okay, that's cooking well. And finally I've got some mild curry powder, just a tablespoon, which I'm going to spread all over the pan. Now the curry powder is a cheap way of doing it, but what this actually has in it, the list of ingredients are ground coriander, chilli powder, there's also ground cumin, turmeric, cardamon, cinnamon, bay leaf. There's all sorts of herbs and spices that have gone into that 1 teaspoon of powder. So we'll just mix that around as well and get all of those vegetables coated nicely in it. I'm not putting the butternut squash in until last. Ooh, let's just turn that off. Purely because I don't want it to over soften. So these things need to be cooked and softened first, and then right at the end we'll combine it with the butternut squash and the coconut milk. It's all combining beautifully. So now I'm going to put in our butternut squash. That's it. Give that a stir. We'll also pop in our black-eyed beans, which we have here. And then finally our can of coconut milk. Give that a good stir. That's bubbling nicely, and I'm just going to add a little bit of stock, just to probably about 100 millilitres, because of course the courgettes still need to cook. The beans will soak up the liquid as well, and so will the butternut squash because it's still a little bit hard. So that should all soak up nicely by the vegetables and act like a sponge. So we'll now leave that on the hob to just simmer for about 20 minutes, and then we'll come back and have a look. Right, so 20 minutes have passed. And as you can see, we've got our hot steaming curry here. All the vegetables have softened down nicely, and I'm just going to serve still a nice amount of juice as well, which makes it nice. If you do want to have anything else with it, such as a rice or a couscous, you could do that. But just for today, I'm just going to show you how it looks in a bowl on its own. Now what I can also add here is I've got some chopped parsley. I've just chopped that roughly. I took about half of the bunch that I originally had because there's quite a lot there. This sprinkle just on the top will just give it a little bit of added flavour. And the other thing with parsley is, again, it's got masses of health benefits. So it's filled with vitamin K, which is good for protecting your bones. Again, boosts your immune system, skin health, protects your eyes. It's got folate, which is really good for heart health. Oh gosh, helps balance hormones. It's actually a really all-round universal great herb to have. So a little bit of parsley on everything every day would be fantastic to do. If you have it. I've also chopped those little spring onions, so if you choose you can actually have a few of those scattered on top. But that is the butternut squash curry. All of the benefits of antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory. This curry has everything in it that you need to boost your immune system and stay healthy over the winter. And the important thing here to remember is we started with very few ingredients, just things that we had in the fridge and in our store cupboard. And it's just really about trying to increase your confidence when it comes to cooking. Don't be afraid to try things, throw things together, taste it as you're cooking it, and just add as you go and see, you know, what concoctions you can come up with. I had a vague idea about what I wanted today, a butternut squash curry, but I didn't quite know exactly what ingredients I was going to put together in order to create that. So, you know, have a go and see what other things you could add to this recipe or take out of this recipe. You could use different beans. You could add a red pepper. There's all sorts of other vegetables. So it makes a great meatless Monday supper or even a lunch.